India has a very interesting history. Since Vasco da Gama is the person who found the seaway to India, and since then the Portuguese started to consecute trade agreements on the Indian west coast. Others followed, and on the 16th century it became a big competition between the French and British about the East India Company. They got much support from the military forces and also the governments. In the middle of the 17th century, Great Britain managed to conquer over the Frenchmen and secure the area in India. After Mughal Empire's fall, the British East India Company initiated a ruthless exploiting of the Indian population. But at the end of the 17th century, the British government allowed to restrict companies' broad powers. After the bloody Sepoy riots, which began as an uprising of the native soldiers in the English service, took over the ruling from the British government in 1858. Through pressure agreements was inferred with the local rulers, Maharajas, which has mastered around a third of India. Soon the British acquired all of India. From 1877, known called as the Empire, and economic and cultural India was tied to the United Kingdom. With great support from the large landowners as tax collectors, the British foundation of the uneven distribution of land that still prevails in Indian countryside. In 1885, the Indian National Congress was formed, later called the Congress Party, who came to lead the freedom struggle against the Bushmen. The main Indian nationalist was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a Western educated lawyer, but lived after the traditions of Hindu. He was able to talk to Englishmen on their way, and Gandhi became widely known as Mahatma Gandhi, the Great Spirit. Muslims who feared Hindu domination in a future independent state formed 1906 India Muslim League. India has a lot of festivals throughout the year, and one of these festivals is called Holi. The festival Holi is a very traditional and old festival, and is celebrated on the day after full moon in early March. Holi is originally a festival for harvest and fertility of the landscape, but is nowadays celebrated mostly symbolically in remind of the legend of Hindu mythology. The myth tells about an arrogant king who takes offense at that when his son Prahalada was worshipping Vishnu. The king then tries to kill his son several times, but fails every time. In the end, King's sister Holika, who is said to be immune to fire, sat with the boy in a big fire. The boy managed to escape unhurt, while his aunt was burned to death. This is why the bonfires are lit during this time. This festival is also associated with the immortal love between Krishna and Radha. Holika is burned the night before Holi starts, and then the festival lasts for 16 days in Vrindavan and Mathura, the two cities Krishna loved the most. Holi is not just celebrated with colored water and fire, but also with folk songs, dances, and happiness.
The caste system has caused injustice and segregation in India for decades. But what is the caste system, and how can something that discriminating be accepted by the second most populated country in the world? This system is supported by the Hindu religion. It was written in the Holy Scripture, the Veda books. A caste is a hierarchical grouping in the society. You are born into a certain caste, and you will stay in that until you die. There is no way to raise in caste while you're alive. The only way to receive a better caste with a higher status is to earn good karma. If you have gathered a lot of good karma in your life, you will be reborn as a more valued person in a better caste. All Hindus strive to achieve nirvana. Nirvana or moksha is the best a human being can be. When you have earned enough good karma in your life, you'll come into a certain state. You will be in total peace and enlightened by the world. The state is called nirvana, and as long as you're in that condition, you'll never have to reborn again. The work you can have varies depending what caste you belong to. If you're in a bad caste, you cannot have a fancy work. It works the opposite way. If you have a worthy job, your caste is most likely higher socially rated. People from different castes are never friends, or even concerned. Absolutely never get married. If you are lucky enough to get a good job coming from a bad family, your co-workers will not treat you well. They will treat you as some kind of parasite. For example, nobody will use the bathroom after you went there, no one will talk to you or have lunch with you. You're going to be cut out. The cows are holy in India and belongs to a caste better than any other creature. There is an old saying that gods and goddesses lives inside cows. That is why cows are worth more than any human being. They're the body of a god. That's the reason why people aren't allowed to move cows when they're lying in the middle of the road. So what's it like living in India? People from different social groups are very disrespectful to each other. It is not unusual to see a police shoot homeless orphan children on the street. India's social segregation is not caused by one problem alone, but many. The caste system of course plays its role, but this is just one reason to the segregated society India has. The gaps between civilians' economy and the police corruption contribute to an injustice society. The government have abolished the system and is actually losing its power and mightiness, but very slowly.
I will bring up the differences between rich and poor people in India, how it is to live, breathe, eat and survive in the third world. By listening to what we have to say, you will receive more information than you have never heard about the caste system. We will talk about how religions affect how you live your life, why it has turned out to that way, and finally how people look at each other regarding which caste system you come from. To start with, I'm going to describe the caste system and all the different pieces in it. The first piece in the caste system is the head. It's called a Brahman, and the professions who belongs to it is only priests. The second piece is the arms. It is called Kashitira. The professions in this caste is landowners, soldiers and officers. When we come to the third caste, we will experience the Tig, that is called Vaisas. The persons who belongs to this category is tradespeople and craftsmen. The last caste system is called Sudra. The people who belongs to this caste is farmers, etc. The red dot on the forehead is not a caste symbol. That is one of the most crucial misconceptions. The reason why Indian women wear it is because it's a sign of that they are actually married. But nowadays Indian women use it regardless they are married or not. The red dot is called a bindi. It's simply for decoration nowadays, and it can be compared to earrings or other jewelry. Ordinary Indian women use it at temple visits, family trips, or before a journey. People that worship Shiva paint 3 horizontal white lines. A wide question in India is if the gaps between people become larger. According to Indian.nu, is that it's not true. The big change in India since their independence 1947 is that the amount of poor people dropped to the middle class, and the middle class has actually grown larger. Since 1991, when India took away several of their tariff walls and liberalized their economy, has the middle class expanded skyrocketing. The middle class or ordinary people is around 300 million humans today, and that's about 1/3 of the Indian population. Do you see on a human which caste it belongs to immediately? No, you don't. But of course you can easily see if the person is wealthy or poor. Today, 60 years after the British gave them independence, India has good economy. The exchange reserves are huge. The inflation and the rents is low, and the production of food is so big that it theoretically could feed all mouths in India. Since 1991, as their economy grows from a few percent to around 9% per a year. Children who are active in schools has upgraded from 36% to 22%, according to the government's own statistics. The number of Indian people who live under the poverty line is around 285 million, so it's a big problem. It leaves so many dissimilar people with different values in the slum. A reason to the screaming inequalities is that resources not distributed evenly, despite barriers of helping program and supporting corrective action to the poor parts of the country. Everyone in India belongs to a caste, regardless if you're a stockbroker or a cleaner. Everyone has their group membership. Fundamentally, its impact who you are born as. As more and more Indians leave countryside for the city, has the caste system undermined. But when it comes to marriage, there is no exceptions. In marriage ads, it often says which caste you belongs to. On the contrary side is the people's last name and safe indicator about caste membership. The name can additionally reveal if you're a Hindu or not, and also which state you are from. Christian Indians usually have a name like David, Mariah or Yusuf, while Muslims Indians' common name is Hussein, Ali or Muhammad. In fact, there are two essential things historical that stands out between European caste system and Indian caste system. The image of higher class or castes purity and the lower class or castes fullness in Europe don't have the religious and the ritual elements that derive from India. 2. The results of the caste system, the social segregation, the representation of the lower group is so much stronger in today's India than nowadays Europe. To sum up with, I want to lift up this talk and establish that today's India is at least setting the correct direction. The last 60 years has the development resulted in massive improvements for a big part of the population. Apart from that, India still has a long way to wander before they can call themselves a welfare state. I took all this information from a Swedish site called Indian.nu, and that is the only source I've used.
Hello, I'm going to talk about Bollywood. Movie stars are the icons for India. Bollywood is basically the informal name for the Hindi film industry based in Mumbai, which is one of the largest centers of film production in the world. Bollywood is a fraction of Indian cinema and is not a physical place, but rather a representative term for popular Hindi films. Bollywood is popular in the eastern countries, but has been growing in many western countries, including the US. It all started way back in 1913 with the first silent feature film made in India called Raya Harishchandra. Over the next 20 years, the Indian film industry grew so quickly that by the 1930s, the country was producing over 200 films a year. It was in 1931 that Alam Ara became the first Indian film with sound. But not until the late 50s when this film started to regularly be made in color. They were often referred to as masala movies, which instead of trying to be realistic, are laden with melodrama through the terms of music, dance, violence, and comedy. Traditionally, a good music is often the main attribute of a successful film. Bollywood is seen today like the international world culture and a well-known mark. Under the last years, Bollywood has grown outside of the Indian mark and became a huge export success. Most people compare Bollywood with Hollywood. Bollywood was coined somewhere in the 70s from combining Bombay and Hollywood. The B was taken from Bombay, while the rest of the name was taken from the popular American counterpart. In terms of viewership, Bollywood overtook Hollywood in 2004 and has been leading ever since. A tradition of dance. It was in the Indian film industry and Bollywood which suddenly put dance on the big screen. Song and dance are both absolutely integral to Indian cinema, far more so than anywhere else in the world. Bollywood dance is the part of the Indian culture and got more variation than other dances. Every dance moves tells a story, and every part of the dancer's body participates. The dance styles is a mixture between old and new, and it includes classic and folk dance. I'm going to tell you some random facts and some interesting facts about Bollywood. When the super movie star Amitabh Bachchan was taken to hospital after seriously damaged when he was acting in a scene in the movie Kolai, 100,000 Indian people were night watching him outside the hospital in Bombay. So just imagine you're a super movie star and 100,000 of your nation are standing outside watching over you. How would you feel? Pretty scary, isn't it? In terms of numbers of film produced, Bollywood is the biggest film industry in the world with over 1,000 films every year. Bollywood films are watched by almost 15 million Indians every day. And every year there are 6 award ceremonies that celebrates Bollywood cinema. Now I'm going to show you some Indian clip.
The different religions and cultures have dominated various areas of India. This have made an impression on the Indian cuisine. The Indian cuisine can be divided into 2 areas, the north and the south of India.
In the north of India, you will find goat and chicken as 2 common ingredients, but vegetarian food is also common. If you want to eat chicken, you should try chicken tikka or tandoori chicken. Both dishes are grilled in a clay oven. Chicken tikka's vegetarian counterpart is called paneer tikka, and it is made of fresh cheese that is marinated and then grilled. In the north, you eat your food with a bread in your right hand. You use it as a kind of spoon. Rice is not a common part of the food in the north. The food is in most cases very hot, and you are served a cool and seasoned yogurt, or as it is called in India, a curd, as a side dish.
The food in the north of India makes people in the south laugh. The food in the north is considered to be hot, but people in the south know how to use the spices to the fullest. So, if you are looking for real spicy food, you should go to the south of India, especially to some parts of Tamil Nadu. The food in the south is in most cases served on a palm leaf or a sheet tray with compartments for several different vegetarian salsas. The food is in most cases eaten with rice, and the different stews is often based on coconut milk or grated coconut. You eat your food with your right hand and you mix your salsas and rice together till it gets an eatable consistency. If you don't want your hands to get sticky, you should try a dosa. A dosa is a crispy fermented flatbread that can be compared to a pancake stuffed with a spicy content. People in India call each other chapatis or chavals, depending on where they come from. Chavals means rice eater and refers to people that lives in the north. Chapatis means flatbread and refers to people in the south. As you know, India stands out from the things that we are used to. So here comes some short facts about the food and some things to do and not to do. The tap water in India is in most cases not clean enough for sensitive stomachs. We are not used to the bacterial flora. It is better to buy a bottle of water and refill it if you get the opportunity. Many hotels let you refill your bottles for free or for a low cost. But make sure that the water is cleaned.
Try to avoid fish and shellfish in the inland. The cooling of food is not as effective in India as it is in Sweden. But they say that the fish and shellfish is delicious at the coastline. Try to avoid to look at someone else's food. According to Indian folklore, can a look from a hungry person poison someone's food?
Eat at places that are well attended by the locals, because the locals wouldn't be eating at a place that serves bad food. India is one of the best countries in the world to be a vegetarian in. The vegetarian food is in most cases delicious and more varied than in Sweden.
You should not be surprised or feel bad for a person that burps in a restaurant in India. A loud burp is a sign of satisfaction, and it is a way to say thank you after a meal.
After talking about food so much, we became hungry, so we decided to make some Indian food.
Okay, what are we going to bake today?
We are going to bake a bread that is very common in the northern India. The bread is called chapati, and it's a thin, flat, unleavened bread, like a tortilla. The recipe is quite easy. Here's what you need for 10 to 12 breads. 4 deciliters of sifted rye flour. 4 tablespoons of cooking oil. 1.5 deciliters lukewarm water, which means that the water should be 37 degrees Celsius.
You need a bowl and a ladle.
First you mix the sifted rye flour and the cooking oil. One. Two. 3. 4. And 4 tablespoons.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4. And at last, water. Okay, we just added the water and now we're knotted together to smooth and easy dough. Divide the dough into 10 to 12 pieces and shape them into balls.
Roll out each ball into a round plate with 10 to 12 centimeter in diameter.
Don't forget to add some flour when you roll out the dough.
Warm up a frying pan and fry each side of the chapati for 20 seconds.
Put the chapati in the frying pan. You have to turn it. Fry it without oil. We failed. As you might see. Not so beautiful.
Now without oil.
Let's see if there's any difference between this one and those two. Hopefully, yes.
Those two beautiful things.
And this is how it looks. Pretty nice, if you ask me. Now it's done.
There's difference. The last one.
Sadly.
And this time it's for real.
This is like the third last one. I think we said the last one 3 times. Or even more.
Yeah.
I think 20 seconds is too short.
Yeah, maybe. More
30.
like 30.
Yeah, 30 is better. We decided to eat our chapatis with taco meat, and some vegetables and cheese. That's not how you usually eat it in India, but we thought it might taste good. So let's try this. Let's taste our chapatis. Okay, this is interesting.
It doesn't taste that much.
It doesn't taste anything. Maybe flour?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not so good.
No. But maybe together with the taco?
Yeah, maybe. Okay, probably the Indian people, whatever, eat this together with food because the bread doesn't taste anything. What would you choose? Chapati to taco or tortilla to taco?
Tortilla.
In an effort to make chapatis and they didn't taste anything.
But they are looking good.
Looking good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we tried Indian chapatis. That was interesting. We probably
But don't try this at home.
don't try this. No. I don't think we're gonna do this again. Okay. Hello, sweetie. What do you think about having a bit of a chapati bread? Looks tasty, right? Mmm. Okay, how was it? Can you tell us? I'm gonna take this as a yes. It was good. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. This was all from Emma and Isabel's kitchen. Bye bye.
Bye.
There are many different religions in India that affects the culture. The largest religion in India is Hinduism with around 80%. The second largest religion is Islam with 13%. There are also Sikhism, Christianity and many other religions. Hinduism was born around 360 years ago. The name Hinduism comes from when the British colonized India around 1800. Hinduism is a collective name for all the people that practice the religion, since Hinduism is a name that the Brits gave the worship that they have in India. All Hindus have commented that they believe in non-violence. They also believe in Brahma. Brahma is an unchanging reality beyond the world, which cannot exactly be defined. The Hindus themselves call Sanatana Dharma, which means eternal Dharma or eternal religion. Hindus don't have any central authority like the Bible or Pope like they have in Christianity. The Hindus also have millions of different gods, and the people in India follow different gods, but they all have something in common. The three main gods in Hinduism is Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Brahma is the creator of all. He stands above and beyond the worship, and that's why there are not many temples dedicated to Brahma. Brahma is often pictured with four heads. Vishnu is the one that supports, preserves and sustains the universe and all the elements within. Vishnu is usually pictured with light blue. Shiva is the destroyer, but also the recreator. Shiva is usually painted with 3 eyes and 4 arms. Hinduism also has something that is called karma. Karma is that if you do something good, you could get a better life get it better in your next life. The main goal of Hinduism is to free yourself from death and reincarnation, samsara, so that you are non-existing.
We're going to show some basic steps in how to dance in India. And also, the dance in India is considered to be the closest thing to prayer. One of the most famous dance forms in India is the dance Kathakali. Kathakali was developed during the 13th and 14th century to Shiva's honor. It's not just a dance, but it's more like a theater. The performances are often based on different god stories, for example Ramayana and Mahabharata. A performance can take over 3 hours, and the dancers often perform up to 4 times in one night. The stories are told with the help of 24 different movements, hand movements, also in combination with over 600 words. The act is accompanied by various drums and percussion instruments.
There are a lot of popular sports in India. The
but the most popular sport is cricket. Field hockey is also popular, but not as big as cricket. But field hockey used to be considered the national game of India. Some other sports that is popular in India is football, basketball and chess. Cricket has been the most popular sport in India. Cricket was introduced during the British rule, and cricket can be played both locally, international and national. Most parts of India is supported cricket. Cricket is a sport that's played with 2 teams and 11 players on each team. It is played on an oval-shaped field, one of the teams, each player are going to be a batsman and try to score as much as can for the team. The other team are going to get the batsman run out, and both teams take turn on doing this. India has hosted or co-hosted 3 Cricket World Cups that's played every 4th year. India is currently world champions after winning the World Cup in 2011. They also won the World Cup in 1983. Field hockey is also a very popular sport, and it's in field hockey that India has been most successfully internationally. India has won 8 Olympic medals in field hockey. The last time they won was in 1980. After 1980, India's lacked performance since other teams have improved their standards, changing in the rules and also internal politics. At the Olympics Games in 2012, India finished last in the tournament. They also won the Hockey World Cup once. This tournament is hosted every 4th year, and India has hosted this twice during 1982 and 2010. Football is also very popular, both as a participant and spectator. India was the first Asian team to get to semi-finals in the Olympics, and this happened in 1956. But today, they are not as big internationally, and they are ranked 148th place by FIFA ratings. This is mostly because India lacks fitness culture and professionalism. The women in football have had it hard, and in 2009, their world rating was removed for being inactive for 18 months. Under the same time as this happened, the sport also get more popular by the young people. This has given the hope that could raise for the women in India.
Okay.
Men vi där kör om den sista serien, så bara skjuter vi ihop det.
Ja, okej.
Det är så.
Vi börjar.
You need a...
Nej! Fuck!
Vet du vad vi gjort, Tabbe?
Vadå?
Det är en tesked. Är det inte matsked?
Men vad fan då? It's a little raw there. Can you see it? No, you can't, because this thing won't focus. Come on. Focus.